Hi, I'm Vince with Barco, and welcome to another episode of Smooth Operator. Today we're on the S3jr showing a basic setup of a 2-projector blend with 2 auxes. This may look a little different from your S3jr because we're on a simulator for today's demonstration. Okay, let's get started. First, let me introduce you to an acronym that will assist you in your setup process. BIOS, B-I-O-S-S, which stands for backgrounds, inputs, outputs, screens, also known as screen destinations, and save. So let's follow that logic. First, we set up our backgrounds. Because we have a 2-screen blend, the canvas for our destination will be 3840 by 1080, so we want a native background input to match that. We know that 3840 by 1080 falls under a dual link resolution, so in order to create a dual link input, we must first sacrifice connector capacity from one input and dedicate it to another. Now this can be done completely at random, but we are going to select the bottom one to sacrifice connector capacity from that guy and dedicate it towards the top one. So now if we take a look at connector number 1 and connector number 4, you'll see connector number 4 has a capacity of none and connector number 1 has a capacity of dual link. So to add the actual background, we're going to go to the background tab. We're going to select our background input that we made to dual link, and then we're going to hit add single background. Here's where we can rename in the list, so we'll go ahead and rename it now. Or we can go to our contextual adjust tab and rename it there as well. So what we want to do is we want to take the EDID and we want to change it from 1920 by 1080 at 5994 to 3840 by 1080 at 5994. This is where you would confirm the resolution of your live input, but since we're on the simulator, we're just going to trick it for now. So now we're going to move on to the I in BIOS, which is inputs. We'll select our input tab. We'll select the connector that we'd like to create the input on, and we'll hit add a single input. We'll go ahead and change the name in the input list. We'll call this one Cam1. So I want to create an additional input. I'll select the second input and then hit add single input. And for this one, I'm actually going to select it, go into the contextual adjust tab and change the name from here. So for the last 2 inputs, I'm going to select both of them and hit add multiple inputs. This will create individual input files. This is just another way of adding inputs all at once. So just like inputs, we will select add single outputs for the first 2 individual connectors and add multiple outputs for the last 2. So if we're still following BIOS, we've completed our backgrounds, we've completed our inputs, as well as our outputs, and we're moving on to screens and screen destinations. Because S3jr only has one output card, we must run this in split card mode. This means we must assign our screen destinations first on the bottom 2 connectors and our auxes on top. Keep in mind, this is specific to only having one output card with both destinations and auxes on it. So I'm going to select one of my 2 outputs and hit add screen destination. Then I'll drag my other output to that destination. You'll notice the resolution will change from 1920 by 1080 to 3840 by 1080. So we're just going to go into our adjust tab. We're going to rename this screen destination. Now you'll see here that we have our 2 associated outputs. We're actually going to add 4 layers, all 4 being single link single layers. Because this is a blend, we want to go ahead and dial in our data double region as well as our feathering. So we're going to go over to our wide tab. we'll select our wide tab, and then we'll go to our exploded view. When we go to our exploded view, we'll select the section that we'd like to data double. And then we're just going to go ahead and dial in our horizontal overlap. We're going to do 600 pixels. So you'll see that that justifies left. But we want to justify center. We can do that one of two ways. One, by clicking this little button, or two, by dialing in the horizontal offset. Now we're going to select the portions we want to feather. The left-hand side of the right side and the right-hand side of the left side. We'll enable our feathering and go ahead and dial in our feather width, which is 600, also the same amount as our data double. Now keep in mind that your feathering does not always have to match your data double. In fact, we can increase or decrease by a few points or have it completely different altogether. So we're going to close our exploded view to come back to our configuration to add in our auxes. So before we move on, I want to point out that our actual canvas here is 3840 by 1080, but our viewable canvas is only 3240 by 1080. Take note, the viewable canvas is the actual canvas less the data double. So for our auxes, we're going to select the connector and hit Add Aux Destination, and we'll repeat that for the second connector. So now that we have completed our configuration, we can move on to the final S in BIOS and hit the Save button.